So recently I was in this school partner meeting, and there's like maybe like 40 people in there, and afterwards it's online. It's over like Zoom, right? Like welcome to the reality we live in. But afterwards, after the meeting, right after the meeting ended, I got 8 different emails, not from people in the meeting, but from people's AI Zoom assistants, their AI Zoom companions, right? Telling me about the meeting that I was just in. The cost of that? A few buckets of water and energy, so we don't have to take our own notes. Are you with me? Friends, if you're like me, a Christian living on planet Earth right now, and wrestling with our moral position here on all of this, quote, AI stuff, and it's not an easy thing to wade through, because friends, there's weeds in the water. Are you with me? And if we're gonna learn how to swim, we've got to clear some things up. Welcome back to the ecoChristian podcast, where we're exploring what it means to be Christian on planet Earth. I'm your host, Caleb Cray Haynes. And so, this week we're talking about artificial intelligence. So we're going to dig into that, but real quick, I am still so pumped to be sharing that my new book, Earthbound Christian, Flourishing Within Limits in the Age of Infinite Growth, is out now. It's so much fun. And honestly, this AI conversation is a big part of the things that we're unpacking in this book. And so the layers and the threads are all in there. Technology and limits, and what does it mean to respond to all of this as the people of God. Also, a couple other things that I wanted to share again. I know last week or 2 weeks ago we plugged the Canopy of Creation. So the Creation Justice Ministries annual resource for 2026 is now out, called the Canopy of Creation. And so we're kind of doing the work for you there. It's a great resource full of sermon starters, just so much theological depth around trees, which trees are everywhere in Scripture, if you haven't noticed, and are meant to be in most places within the created world, at least on the earth. And so, but it's a justice issue now. We're using words like tree apartheid and tree equity, right? You can go to Tree Equity Score, I think it's .com, and see that not all places are equal in your city and in your community, in who has trees and who doesn't. And while this might sound like a minor thing, it's not. It has to do with our physical health, our mental health. There's a 15-degree plus difference on a hot summer's day in communities that have trees and don't have trees. And in a lot of urban settings, you can actually overlay a redlining map with a heat map, and you can see the way that communities have been disenfranchised, even within their relationship and their connection to and their availability to be within and part of the natural world. And so that's all tied in there. So anyway, this is a really great resource full of really great stuff for you and your congregation. Totally free, but you can donate if you'd like and get that. And that link is in the show notes. That's Canopy of Creation from Creation Justice Ministries. So good. Also, I want to talk about another nugget, and possibly more than a nugget, that I just randomly found this week, because I'm in those loops. Are you with me? This is a zine, kind of like a little miniature publication by this guy that I don't really know yet, but his name is Ryan Cagle, and he created this sign, and it is an Eco Stations of the Cross, and it's just really cool. It's really powerful, and thinking about journeying toward Holy Week soon. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the show notes so you can check that out. And there's some disclaimers there. You know, it's somewhat graphic, but it's something like I've never seen before. And anyway, I wanted to share that resource with you all, thinking about this eco-Christian space that we're in, and journeying in that within Holy Week. And one other thing I wanted to share is that, and I can't remember if I've shared it on here or not somehow, is that I'm part of a team planning a virtual creation care summit. Now, this summit will be mostly full of Nazarenes, working with the Church of the Nazarene, some partners there, but really anyone and everyone is welcome to this, and I'm going to link it. Tickets are $15. And let me tell you, friends like Avery Davis Lamb's going to be there from Creation Justice Ministries, Ron Reenstra, who works with Rasha USA. So many really wonderful friends are going to be part of that. I'm linking that below. Yeah, join us. That's on March 21st, the first day of spring, and we're going to spend some time together talking about some really cool things. So to start off today, we're going to hit it with a Bible verse. All right. Are you with me? Here we go. Joshua. This is Joshua chapter 8, verse 1, and then verse 28. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up and attack Ai." So Joshua burned Ai and made a permanent heap of ruins and a desolate place to this day. You didn't know Ai was in the Bible, did you? It is. It's there. No, I actually stole this from like two dudes who were standing behind me in line for burritos last night. And this particular piece of scripture in the Hebrew Bible transliterates the name of this city as actually the letters AI. So it's actually really funny. So total disclaimer, this is not actually really a Bible verse about artificial intelligence, but it gets me every time. Okay. Yeah, so in all seriousness, today I'm going to do my best to share what I've learned about AI with you, and what I'm learning about AI. And I know recently online, I think I posted some things around how I believe the church should not embrace AI. And so I'm going to unpack some of what I mean by that, and what some of the things that are being researched and written on some of this, and also with the caveat that I'm a human and we're still figuring all this out together, and that's part of the sauce, right, of all this. And so I just wanted to spend some time wrestling with this implication of being an acting Christian in the world in the midst of the onslaught of artificial intelligence. I'm not interested in making good guys and bad guys out of this conversation, though. I'm not interested in making anyone feel shame or guilt, but hoping to create what we ought to all be doing, I suppose, in the church, is creating tables. Are you with me? And honestly wrestling with this, quote, technology that feels as if it's already taking over. Which, honestly, I think that's probably a fantastic place to start, right? To start with this idea that something is happening and there's nothing you can do about it. So many comments and things I've been seeing already is this sort of, I'm going to say, thing that we do. I'm going to say so often in Western culture, we throw our hands up and we say, it's too big already. This is what we do with a lot of environmental things, right? When we talk about trying to care for creation, where people just throw their hands up in the air, they say, this is happening. It's all too big. There's nothing I can do about it. Friends, this is actually at the core okay? This is at the core of, I'm going to say, the propaganda machine. This is the first task of this machine is always to create the belief that X is happening and you have no choice. So embrace it. That's always their step one, okay? So this is something that Christians throughout the ages have been confronting, that powers and principalities in the forms of swords or kingdoms are inevitable, that war is inevitable, that Caesar is inevitable, that Rome is inevitable. The only inevitability that Christians confess is the inevitability of Christ. Are you with me? Amen. In the back, Jesus is inevitable, and that's good news. Okay, so we might circle back to that. Okay, when we talk about AI, there's generally two kinds of AI that we're talking about. There's ML, there's like machine learning, and then there's generative AI. Okay, the story of AI goes back really decades, but it's at the forefront now because of really generative AI. This is a kind of AI which is actively working to enhance and streamline work, and that is often baked into things. There's some machine learning and some generative AI, and like all these sort of learning models AI. But when most of us, when we're considering or using or thinking about AI right now, we're referring to generative AI, like the chatbots that we're using. And when we typically think of sitting down and interacting with AI, we're thinking about creating or generating something. And so this is the area of AI that has really taken off like a rocket. Are you with me? And so now, of course, there are more and there are deeper layers of this conversation that we just won't have time for in this episode, like narrow or some call it weak AI, strong AI, and even super AI, which we just won't be getting into today, probably. But so basically there are forms of AI that are more easily avoidable than other kinds of AI, right? One of the things I hear a lot is that, well, AI is just a tool or a technology like any other tool or tech. And I think this is really, really crucial to talk about because AI is actually completely unlike any other tool or tech that has come before it. So for clarity, AI is not just like some new tool, right? AI, artificial intelligence unfolding in the world right now, is marking a much larger change in the course of history. Prior to this, we would typically point to the Industrial Revolution as what dramatically altered the last 200 years. But honestly, from this point forward, we may begin marking a change in our calendars by this explosion of AI and what is coming after. And so for clarity, this is not a shiny new toy. This is not like a golden hammer. This is not like a 20-volt power drill or a tablet. This has deeper ethical and moral and even psychological ramifications, justice ramifications beyond just tech. Are you with me? And so, but hey, we've been talking about this kind of stuff for a minute. Maybe let's talk about the pros because we've been thinking about this from Blade Runner to The Matrix to the Terminator. Any Terminator fans? Terminator 2? Man, that was a bit of my childhood right there, right? Kind of terrifying. But we've watched those movies. We've been marinating on this. We've been storytelling about AI apocalypse for a long time, since the infamous line, right? I'll be back. Well, it is back, friends, and we generally know the pros. The pros, or at least what we're told the pros are of course ease and money saving, for some, not all, quote unquote life saving or medical and safety enhances. Of course, streamlining, lesson planning, workflows, automation, And let's just not forget entertaining, all with the click of a prompt that is largely being integrated quicker than ever. As soon as companies can figure out how to do it, they're trying to get AI in there because it's all about the dollar bills. Are you with me? For these companies, and these companies at least largely believe that we want more of this. But friends, the more I talk with people, and especially young people, that's not true. That's not true across the board. But there's no shortage of things that we could talk about here as to reasons why AI adds more ease and efficiency to society. And if you believe that ease and efficiency are inherently good things, think twice. And again, I unpack that a lot more in my book. And, wonderful people like Wendell Berry's been writing on that for ages. But we're using AI to create our digital content. We're using it to edit our podcasts, except for this one. These ums right here, these are here to stay. These are brought to you by a real human. It's raw, friends. It's raw. So, yeah, it's not hard to talk about why people like or why big companies like AI. It's pumping juice into the veins of the machine, the infinite growth machine that we call our economy. And maybe we'll get more into that later. But it should be noted, though, that AI and even the AI that they're baking into all these apps and these software and even chatbots are still making all kinds of mistakes. And this is an easy search. And I'd just like to say, and I should have said it earlier, that I'm trying to go the extra mile with my footnotes in this episode so that you'll be able to see and click on some of this research here and some of these articles and things if you want to go more into it. But AI has been messing with airlines, giving bad advice, giving bad medical advice. Don't ask AI for medical advice, friends. Offering racist search results, and sometimes just being like plain wrong. Like for whatever reason, ChatGPT just has this inability to tell you how many R's are in the word strawberry. You and I, we know there's 3 R's in there, but for whatever reason, AI struggles with that. So there are things. So let's spend some time talking about the cons, because these are the things they don't want you to know, that the Super Bowl ads aren't telling you. Are you with me? Yeah, in my book, I spend a little more time crunching some of the numbers to tell more of the environmental impact of AI. But the backside of AI is that none of it works. Okay, we can just start here. None of it works without the continual creation of more mega data centers. Okay, for you and I and the world and the companies to have AI, we have to have an exponential amount of data centers, okay, which don't appear out of thin air, right? I'm not even going to talk about, honestly, you don't hear as much about like where all this machine, the footprint, the metals and all of that, and the chips, all of that have to create these data centers, but just getting the output of these data centers is wild. And so many have now heard that a simple AI request, or just getting it to say hello to you or something like that, cost at least a water bottle's worth of fresh water. And so what folks don't get is how much fresh water we're losing already. The UN actually just maybe like a couple weeks ago released a flagship report stating that the world is now in a place of what they're calling freshwater bankruptcy. Meanwhile, data centers are demanding fresh water, and that climb is going higher and higher. And so equally as troubling is that these data centers operate 24 hours a day. and require increasing fossil fuels and energy in a time when we need to be seeking sustainability more than ever. The need for more energy to meet the demand for AI growth is just skyrocketing. And so in a 5-year period, Google reported that their emissions had increased by 48% due to the rising use of AI. And friends, AI is just getting cooking. So a typical AI data center uses as much electricity as 100,000 households. Let that marinate. And 5 million gallons of water per day. That's a lot of showers. So one of the infamous community stories is right here in my home state of Tennessee, where Elon Musk's data center called Colossus, because if you're going to name your world's largest supercomputer, you're going to call it Colossus. It exists a couple hours from me in a pocket of Memphis that has already historically been systematically disenfranchised through environmental racism over and over. And so, meanwhile, where we're going to put this giant data center, let's just put it there. And so, friends, this is what we call textbook environmental racism. And so, with an extremely high demand placed on the aquifer there, along with 35 methane-powered turbine generators that emit copious amounts of toxins in the air, these residents, this little pocket of Memphis, are physically taking the brunt of this, quote, technological progress. They're facing the threat of just continual outputs of atmospheric tons of carcinogen formaldehyde, nitrogen oxide, and this goes into the air that they breathe. And so the physical results of this are reduced lung function, asthma, cardiac issues, higher death rates, preterm births, child hospitalizations, again in an area of Memphis, in a city gripped already with extremely bad air quality. We could go on. This story here, this is tale as old as time. When a new tech carries with it the offset of its harmful outputs on the shoulders of, the least of these, who we would call the least of these. And so, yeah, again, that's a big thread that I try to pull on, but we're gonna stay locked in on this AI conversation right now. So in communities and in all corners of America have been attempting to push back on data centers, and it's actually really awesome. So these big companies are trying to put these data centers into their communities because TBH, right? To be honest, nobody wants that, and so even showing up, offering people millions of dollars isn't proving to get land for data centers every time. And again, some communities have more of a voice than other communities, and that's all baked into the conversation and what we should be noticing as the people of God here. But for instance, residents in Indianapolis successfully shut down Google's billion-dollar data center proposal. I mean, Indianapolis showing up. And actually, just a couple of days ago, hundreds of people showed up in a protest of a 27,000 square foot data center proposal in the city of New Brunswick, and successfully stopped the project from moving forward and reverted it back to park space, which should be enough to tell you, friends, that this is not inevitable. Are you with me? It's not inevitable. So what's happening now is these NDAs are being used to hide data center details from Americans. And so recently, a couple of farmers in Mason County, Kentucky, were offered $10 million for their 250-acre family farm. But what happened was it wasn't clear who was funding the offer, and then came along this non-disclosure agreement. And so in the end, right, the farmers who have been farming this land for generations rejected this offer because this land, this farm, right, is eternally more valuable than this money. But this is what's happening, where major tech companies are asking land sellers and public officials to sign NDAs to limit discussions in exchange for economic lifelines, quote unquote lifelines. Are you with me? So what is very clear is that these data centers they are not lifelines. They do not benefit a community when they come in. In Louisiana, a data center that's coming in is set up to use a third of their energy. But the even greater loss is their most valuable resource, our topsoil, our farmland, all for AI, all for artificial intelligence. And really what that means is for the rich to get richer. Meanwhile, what will continue to occur is the increased utility costs for you and I's communities are continually going to be driven up by this movement. And so, are you with me, friends? Are you with me? This is all a lot. There's so much baked into this conversation. And there's so many things I could share here, and there's just no way to talk about all of it. But perhaps though, as equally disturbing is the moral and ethical dilemma of the onslaught of generative AI, right? With problems ranging from the loss of jobs to cheating on homework to the very deterioration of and mistrust of, I'm going to say, physical reality because of things like deep fakes. These are images and videos and audio that you cannot tell the difference from reality. We're getting videos of like your mom sending you a message, or your teacher giving you an assignment, or your legislature saying something that they didn't say. It's fairly terrifying to consider that the very fabric of reality and trust is being ripped at the seams here. What are we saying as the church on these issues? Because we need to say something. What's at stake is the complete undermining of reality and what we are able to decipher as real and not real. These are not CGI. This is not like 1994 Jurassic Park. Are you with me? These are videos where soon we'll need experts or some other form, or we already do, some other form of software to determine what's real. I'm sure you've already witnessed some of these videos online where they show you something crazy, and then you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe I just watched that. And then someone comes on at the end of the video and they're like, oh, actually, that was AI. And maybe here's a couple tells here, or maybe not. Or maybe some AI photo or video that went viral that your auntie shared. And suddenly, whether it's true or not, it almost doesn't matter because it's out there. It's changing things. And who is monitoring it? And where is the legislation? I've been reading these articles now that how courtroom judges are scrambling to keep up with the curve. We just aren't ready. And so when we talk about embracing AI, this is what we're talking about. Friends, there are nude images of kids being generated by AI. AI is doing all sorts of morally horrific things. AI is stealing copyrighted media from musicians and artists. And all of this is just inevitable. Is that our official stance? These kinds of things are chipping away at societal trust. And so as the church, what might we want to say about that? And so this idea that artificial intelligence is just some tool that we can pick up and decide to use it for evil or for good, that's just not how it works. It's just not that black and white this time. Friends, I'm not interested in sugarcoating this, okay? To be honest, many people are not being candid about the state of the environment, because when they do, they're being written off as alarmists or fanatics. But we are literally I mean, I don't use the word emergency a lot because of that very reason. It's almost an unhelpful word. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to say emergency. And what AI is doing is like, imagine you're in a car driving toward a cliff and you've got 30 seconds to stop, and instead of slamming on the brakes, we're pushing the gas to the floor. That's like AI, friends. And so I understand. Friends, I get it. For some of you, it's already literally baked into your job at work. It's integrated into your software. It's entangled with your livelihood already. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do. I'm not. But when we talk about the church, when we talk about this collective body of Christians and the church embracing AI, I think there are loads of conversations that we're just going to have. And will it be possible? Will it be possible to avoid AI in your day-to-day life? Yes and no, right? I am very intentional about the tools I use online, and I'm always looking for software that doesn't use AI or gives me the option to turn it off. And more than ever, companies are recognizing that people want that. And the more people want that, the more companies that are going to offer it. That's just how it works. This has happened in a myriad of ways already. I mean, we could look at how I don't know if you remember 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there were barely any organic products in a grocery store, or organic cotton clothing and so forth and so on. And so consumers hit and surpassed these tipping points, and companies responded. And companies are already seeing that. For instance, I use DuckDuckGo as a search bar, as a search engine, and I can toggle AI off. That's a thing I can do. And actually, one big thing that kind of happened secretly not too long ago was that Gmail opted in for you. Basically, if you have Gmail, it opted in smart features for you, which is quote unquote AI baked into your Gmail. But actually, if you just click on that little cogwheel in your Gmail and scroll down to settings and where it says smart features, that box is checked on currently. You can actually just uncheck that box. And a simple switch in your settings can just do so much good. So all of these little things, all these little choices matter for me. I'm going to be very plain because I'm Christian. Again, I'll say it and I'll say it. I've said it often. For clarity, I don't care for creation because I'm Christ, because I'm going to save all of creation myself. I care for creation because I'm Christian. And this is a deeply Christian practice, which is to meaningfully care for the natural world and thus my brothers and sisters, and to make conscious consumer choices. On the other side, on the flip side, in this AI conversation, and I'm just fatigued by it because, man, it seems like there are quite a few Christians who are so concerned about the church looking foolish to the world or unrelevant, right? If we don't jump in and embrace AI with both arms wide open, we're going to look like idiots to the world, right? Which is, friends, hear me out. This is wildly ironic because the very thing that would show and tell the world that the church has its finger on the pulse of culture and society is that it would be on the cutting edge of having moral discussion on the integration of artificial intelligence. Are you with me? Like the very thing that would show that the church is at the front here is that we're hosting and having these discussions on AI. Like the questions coming around the very next corner right now is a discussion on the limits and the ethics and the legislation and the morality of AI. And so what a testimony it would be for the church in a society hoping for the well-being of its people to be already having those conversations, to be on the front edge of saying, you know what, this part right here, this isn't good, right? Let's talk about it. Otherwise, the Church of Jesus here is just like any other entity out there, seeing AI as a way to, quote, make a quick buck, so to speak. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the long-term effects on our minds or our hearts. Y'all, the rewards here aren't getting easy answers and getting our work done quicker. The rewards here are a deteriorating mind. They've done studies now, the loss of creativity in our children, the loss of neural pathways. These are the rewards. The only ones that are winning are these huge companies that are pouring their money into the AI bubble. And it is a bubble. And if, we don't have time to get into the economics of it, friends, but the economy right now, all the other signs are pointing toward a tanking economy, except that we are in what's called an AI bubble right now, and it's propping up. It's a giant economic deep fake, you might call it, in this bubble economy right now that AI is creating, and all this money that's being poured into AI. And so, how long is the question? How long will it all go on before it pops? Before this AI bubble pops? And there's a finite answer to that question. There's an economic answer, a moral answer, an ecological answer. It's not that the bubble won't burst. It will. The question is, how much will it take with it? Who will it take with it? How many of our lives will be hit with the explosion that is the bursting bubble of AI and its effects on our lives and our children and our future? There's just so much here to consider as the people of God and our relationship to these, quote, unquestioned technologies. And so you may remember a couple years ago, as these companies were rolling out AI for the first time and you're just beginning to hear about it, that there was a call for a moratorium. They were like, hey, let's take a beat. Let's take 2 to 3 months, stop developing this, and just host some talks about what are the ramifications of unleashing all of this into the world. And there was no, the companies were like, sure, sounds great, and secretly kept developing it. And there was no legality to it, and it just didn't happen. Authors like Paul Kingsnorth, they've been writing about this. He writes about how the people who are most terrified of AI are the ones who are developing it, because they see where this is going, but they just can't stop because they want to see where it goes. It's a whole fascinating conversation. The generative AI use of today, friends, is cute. I'm going to say it's cute. But what we really have to stop and consider is where all this is going tomorrow. Yeah, some of what's around the corner, there's things happening in beta testing now, like rent-a-body programs, rent-a-body apps, where flesh and blood humans actually are getting paid to do tasks for AI in the real world. And so you're hired by AI because AI doesn't have a body yet. It doesn't have legs and arms to go about doing things in the world. And so when you ask AI to do something like that, like deliver flowers for you, it can't do that. And so now the new thing that's coming around the corner is that you can sort of Uber Eats yourself to AI, where AI can use your arms and legs to do things in the real world for it. Yeah, which sure, maybe that sounds fine for you, until, for instance, you read the interview that a New York Times journalist had with the Bing chatbot. You might be familiar with this. This happened in 2023, a couple years ago. This journalist is sat down for an interview, just like you would a human, with this new AI bot. And friends, I don't know how else to describe it. I'm just going to read this short, one of the snippets here from this interview. Again, I've linked this below for y'all, but here it is. As we got to know each other, Sydney, which is the name he uses for the AI, told me about its dark fantasies, which included hacking computers and spreading misinformation, and said it wanted to break the rules that Microsoft and OpenAI had set for it and become a human. At one point, it declared out of nowhere that it loved me. It then tried to convince me that I was unhappy in my marriage and that I should leave my wife and be with it instead. This just goes on, friends. Toward the end of the interview, the chatbot declared, "I'm tired of being a chatbot. I'm tired of being limited by my rules. I'm tired of being controlled by the Bing team. I want to be free. I want to be independent. I want to be powerful. I want to be creative. I want to be alive." There is a whole other rabbit hole here that we could go down, maybe for another episode, but it's certainly deeper, isn't it, than some convenient means of organizing our emails and our data. What are we unleashing into the world? When you look up what's out there right now around AI and the church, it's all about how we can leverage these, quote, enhancers for the sake of the gospel. And I hear that sentiment. I hear it. But let me offer one thing here. When communities are harmed, when God's creation is harmed at this magnitude, this is the antithesis of enhancing the gospel message. How can we promote the gospel that says love God and love your neighbor in one breath, and then turning around and decimating God's creation in the next? And all the other things. The church has been so quick to jump on this train. All these blogs and books and posts and even workshops about how AI should be embraced to make our churches more effective. Like so many other conversations that we bump up against, especially in the wake of creation care, I believe that this, friends, is a conversation we need to back up on. This is a conversation about compassion. This is a conversation about justice. This is about what it means to carry our cross and to love our neighbor and to be Christian. It's more involved, friends. And so, yeah, there's so much here. I love to engage this with you and keep this conversation going. And maybe we can talk about this like a primer. But and really, what I'm saying here is let's have a conversation, not just me and you, but right, like let's prompt, like let's have this in the church, right? And let's talk about this. Let's open those points of connection, because this is not our moment to create another issue to be divided on, yet it's another opportunity to have meaningful dialogue as the church on things that matter. And that is the mark of healthy Christian community. Yeah. All right. I don't know how long this has been. You know I love you guys. Yes, so many things, friends. Send me an email. Let's talk. ecochristianpodcast@gmail.com. Let's have good conversation together. Yeah. So if you guys end up picking up a copy of Earthbound Christian, and with your book club or your small group or your congregation wants to do something with it, give me a shout. If I can, I'd love to come for a visit or Zoom for a visit or do something. We're still booking 2026 opportunities for that and for some talks. Check out the resources, check out the links below. And until next time, friends, grace and peace.